Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to your follow-up Friday. So, how are you doing today? Is your Friday all mapped out and set up so that you can take care of all those follow-ups that you didn't get a chance to do during the week because you were just so busy and the week got away from you? Is your follow-up Friday set up so that all your meetings are going to start effectively Monday morning, 7 a.m., and your calendar is full, and you even schedule work blocks so that you can stay on track and you have your notebook, and your notebook is an outcome-based notebook. So a single outcome may have many to-dos, and as things get crazy during the week, you look down at your notebook and you can see the outcomes you want to work towards. This is what we want to do on Friday. So try and reduce those meetings as much as possible. So thank you everyone for joining Follow Up Fridays. And today I want to talk to you about a article I posted in the group chat, and this is a big topic. This is something I've been debating for years with different people, and I certainly have my preference, and I'm going to share that preference with you today, but I would love to hear what your preference is. I'd love to hear what your project management style or methodology is. And the reason why I put methodology in quotes is for the purists out there, you're going to say, well, Mark, is it really a methodology? I like to say it's a style, and that is Agile versus Waterfall. So Agile versus Waterfall, Waterfall versus Agile project management styles. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to see those words in your mind. Agile versus Waterfall. I'd like you to see those words in your mind. And then I'd like you to take that word versus in your mind, and I'd like you to replace that word versus with the and symbol. So it should read in your mind, Waterfall and Agile. Waterfall and Agile. And by changing the verses in your mind to the and statement, what that will allow you to do is take the best of both worlds, or many worlds if you're using different styles, and create what's called a hybrid model. So studies show that approximately 11.5% of poor project performance, missed deadline, unused resources equate annually and globally to about $3 billion, excuse me, $3 trillion of wasted funds. So it's very important that when we structure our projects, that we don't waste resources, we don't waste time, we don't waste budget, and that we don't disengage our employee stakeholders and staff either. So that's 11.5% of annual wasted project resources due to poor performance, poor planning, which equates to, once again, about $3 trillion annually globally. So when we think about a hybrid project model, once again, waterfall and agile, this is pivotal to the project's success. What this will do is allow for adaptability, incorporating things like the vision, the roadmap, the strategy, and detailed planning so that we have the best of both worlds. Now, the questions that you can ask yourself to see, is a hybrid model going to work best for me, or should I stick with my agile style? Should I stick with my waterfall style, or is hybrid going to work best for me? So like I told you guys, I will give you my opinion, and my opinion is that a hybrid model works best for me, and it has worked best for me for many, many years. For over 10 years, I've been using a hybrid model. And as new things come out in the project world, as you guys know, every year I go to the project management conference, I go to the Agile conference, and I'm a SAFE person, so I go to the SAFE conference. And I go to these every year. Even if I have to go virtually, I'll go virtually. During the pandemic, what didn't make sense to go to these things in person, so I went virtually. And every year I'm talking to folks from all different walks of life in the industry about what's going on in their projects or anything new that they're rolling out. So for me, the hybrid model really works well, and it's this concept of continuous learning inside of that hybrid model. But to get back on track here, the questions you might want to ask is a hybrid model appropriate for me, appropriate for my project, appropriate for my program, so that I don't waste that 11.5%, so that I'm not contributing to this $3 trillion of wasted project. First is, do I have a diverse set of stakeholders? The next is, and we'll go through each one, does my project or program have various phases, milestones, or deliverables? Are my requirements ever changing? Can they be uncertain at times? Do I have a risk management process in place? Is it flexible? And is my project or product one that is a complex or relatively simple structure? So these are the 5 questions we're going to ask ourselves to say, is a hybrid model appropriate for us? And as we think about these questions and we talk about each one right now, you may be saying to yourself, actually, I can see the benefit in the hybrid model. Actually, no, I think the model I'm using now, I think the style I'm using now is perfectly fine. And that's great. Once again, my preference would be a hybrid model. So diverse stakeholder needs. If you have 1 or 2 stakeholders and they're very, very clear on what they want and what they've invested, then diverse stakeholder needs may not be appropriate for you. Diverse stakeholder needs are going to be a change in an iterative change in their feedback and their requirements and their expectations and adapting to that change in addition to having a very structured roadmap that you're working towards. So that's how you know if you have diverse stakeholder needs. Throughout my career, I've almost always worked with a diverse group of stakeholders that had ever-changing needs. I've never seen a particular group of stakeholders that had a fixed mindset on what we were going to deliver, and they stuck to that, and that never changed. I've always seen it change. The next is varied project phases. So are there different phases throughout the project? Maybe you have an initial planning phase, but then that planning phase doesn't need to be so rigid and structured and allows for flexibility and change as you move down the road. The third question is, are my requirements static or are they dynamic and there's uncertainty in their requirements? So for projects where the initial requirements are clear, but then we have a process in place to accommodate those changes, that's where a hybrid model would come into place. The next question is, do I have a formal risk management process in place and does it allow for adaptability? So what's the probability that my project or my product is going to encounter some risk or some uncertainty? Do I have some type of iterative documentation or testing in place to accommodate that? This is where hybrid models come into place. And the last question is complex project structures. So are there intricated interdependencies in terms of upstream dependencies, downstream dependencies? Are there multiple components, cross-functional teams, hybrid businesses, and even different corporations across the industry that we're working with? If that's the case, a hybrid model will work best for you. Once again, maybe a little bit of planning upfront to list out the flow or the documentation of all these interdependencies, and then having an adaptable process moving forward to adjust to them. So a hybrid project management methodology will embrace the strengths of both Waterfall and Agile. And remember, in our mind, we change that versus to and, Waterfall and Agile, not Waterfall versus Agile. And it will actually, they'll complement each other. They'll offset the weaknesses so that you get the best of both worlds. It'll also end the arguments and silly statements when we talk to folks and we say, hey, can we work on a plan? And their reply is things like, well, we don't have a plan, we're Agile. So that stuff is just silly. Regardless of your project methodology, we should always have a plan and work towards the plan. If we're Agile, our plan is a little more flexible, but we should still be working towards a roadmap, okay? So I hope that you guys found value in this. Let's please continue to stay engaged, and great job on your follow-up Fridays. I hope that your week to come is very successful based on how you scheduled everything. And remember, change that verse in your mind to Waterfall and Agile, not Waterfall versus Agile. And I hope that you can have a hybrid project style that works best for you. Let's please stay engaged. And if you have any comments, please share them with me. I'd love to keep the dialogue going. Let's talk again soon. Bye-bye.